If you're into the law of attraction, but you're beginning to question, is the law of attraction all about getting a bunch of material things? Or is the law of attraction actually becoming someone? Well, today I'm going to sit down with Emma Mumford, who is a huge influencer online. She teaches law of attraction. She's an award-winning life coach, YouTuber, two-time best-selling author, speaker, and podcast of the #1 spiritual podcast on iTunes. Emma's work has helped hundreds of thousands of people turn their dreams into an abundant reality. So she has an incredible story of how she actually began in debt after a breakup and how she transcended that and turned it into blessing other people and turning it into a career for herself. So if you're into the law of attraction, you definitely want to listen to this podcast. Welcome to the Dr. Erin podcast. This is a top spiritual psychology coach podcast to inspire and teach you how to transform your trauma, birth your soul's purpose, and manifest your dreams. Hi, I'm Dr. Erin, Doctor of Divinity. I'm committed to bringing you the best coaching tips, spiritual advice, trauma healing, and metaphysical recovery secrets. I'm here to help you monetize your spiritual gifts and love your life. I want you to know that I've been exactly where you are, and I believe in you. Together, we're awakening the world. Okay, amazing. I'm super excited to have you here and dive deep into law of attraction, manifesting, what your thoughts are on trauma, and how all this applies really to the listener out there who's, they might be struggling still. They might, be really just doing all their inner work, or they might be someone who already is a coach and really wanting to get to the next level. So I just want to say welcome and thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Erin. I'm really excited to be here and talk all things trauma.
Yeah, right. Amazing. So I would love for you to just introduce yourself to my audience. How did you get into this work? Usually people have gone through something traumatic themselves. People generally have gone through some really hard times. Take me there. What's your journey been like to come in here? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's definitely been traumatic. I can say that much. So, but it's interesting because I think before writing my latest book, I probably wouldn't have called it that. If we'd have been talking about trauma, I'd have been like, okay, I've been through some hard things, but I probably wouldn't have called it trauma. So I think it's interesting that sat here and now I can be like, yeah, it was traumatic, all the things that have kind of got me here today. So, really there's a whole journey in the book that happened in my childhood, but my kind of generic story as such of how I got to this point starts back in 2012 when I was in my early 20s. So I was a banking manager at the time. So I was working as a banker, which was a very different career path to what I saw myself in. I had no desire to be a banker. I had no plans to be. It was just a job that I fell into after leaving college and something to pay the bills essentially. And at that time I was in a not so great relationship and we had bailiffs turn up at the door and I had no idea of this, that my ex had debts, didn't know anything about it. And obviously I was 18, 19 at that point. So it was really stressful as such a young adult to be experiencing that and not have any knowledge of how to deal with bailiffs or how to deal with that. I knew nothing of this. So that was a really pivotal part in my journey. So I took out a loan with the bank I was working with because I got preferential rates. And my sort of Virgo head was like, right, I'll clear the debt for you. You'll pay me back. All's good, all's good. But it wasn't, unfortunately. So we actually, by the time we broke up, had around £30,000 worth of debts I didn't know anything about. Obviously, I'd taken a loan out for the 7,000 and still to this day, he's never paid a single penny of it. As soon as I took out that loan, the relationship broke down so quickly. And it was awful then having to think, right, that is my legal responsibility, because here in the UK back then, there wasn't really any support for people who were left in debt from partners or marriages or relationships. It was very much like, it's your legal responsibility, tough, you have to pay it. So I was pretty much 19, 20 at that point, facing life with £7,000 worth of debt. I had crippling depression at that point as well. And I'd had depression along a lot of that journey. But it really kind of got stronger and stronger and stronger as that debt came in, as obviously I then had to leave the banking role because I was working with people who I had to put in debt. I had to put people in debt every day. I was then in debt myself. And it was an extremely triggering situation to be around money and also have to tell people, no, you actually can't have a loan. You can't have a credit card. You can't have, whatever it is they were coming into me for. So it really soul crushed me, that job, because I wanted to help people, but not in that way. And I didn't want to be targeted and have all that pressure to put people in debt as well, being in debt myself. So
Right.
at that point, moving forwards, I then found extreme couponing, which was a really random thing to find.
That's funny.
But I loved the TLC show and I really thought, wow, this is amazing. Like, these people are saving thousands and thousands of dollars worth of food. Imagine if I could do that here. Imagine if I could take that pressure off myself, save some money and clear my debt. So I was very much proactive about the whole thing. And here in the UK at the time, couponing was not a thing. It was not spoken about. It was very sort of like taboo to talk about as well. So there wasn't much information out there. So I very much took it.
Just interjecting, I just wanted to say for the audience, I think it's really important because there's things that, as we know, come down our track or intergenerational trauma, and debt is one of them, which is so fascinating because when you take a look at Europe, there used to be debtor's prison. And people would, when they got in debt, they'd get in debt and there was no out. And then when America came about, we actually, two of the staples that we got founded on was no debt prison. So you could go bankrupt and just be like, oh, whatever, new business, right? Which has been great and terrible because it's made us just be a lot of fraudulent stuff in our debt world. But I think it's important to talk about this for the audience because here you are, Emma, and you're going, oh, I have debt, but you're also holding the whole angst and stress and everything that's come along before you're even embodied in this life, right? So I think it's important to interject in that, but go on. Great story. I love this. Keep going.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm glad you shared that. So, going along that journey, found extreme couponing, loved it. It was such a positive impact on my mental health to be able to put positive energy towards something to help me. And my friends were like, you should really share this with people. Like, people would love to know how you're doing this because it's not that, there's no one in the UK doing this. So after a lot of pestering, I started up a Facebook page. It was called Extreme Couponing and Deals UK. And within 6 months, it just totally blew up. It got like 500,000 followers. The press here in the UK were nicknaming me the coupon queen. I was presenting on one of the biggest TV shows here in the UK, and it just felt really surreal, if anything, because I hadn't planned to have a business. I hadn't planned to do any of that. And I was still so young at this point as well, in my early 20s. So it was like thrust into the limelight, thrust into all these different things whilst experiencing depression, anxiety still. So it was a lot. It was a lot, but it was also really positive. And it was also a really fun time in my life to be able to experience all of that and turn that negative situation into something positive that will help so many people. So instead of the banking putting people in debt, I was now helping people get out of debt and be more savvy with their money. So I ran that business for 6 years, and then fast forward to 2016 is when I had my spiritual awakening. And this was again when I was in a not so great relationship. So you can see the themes here. You can see the traumas coming through.
I love it. Yeah, so good. Thank you. Yeah.
Love has been the biggest journey of my life, definitely. And at this point, the depression had got so much worse. It got to a point where I was, thinking about suicide and thinking about like, right, what are my options here? Because I'm so miserable within myself. What am I meant to do? I thought, surely this isn't what life is. Surely this, we shouldn't feel sad. Like, how do I feel happy? And I didn't have those answers. And, I went on antidepressants. I tried CBT, counseling, all the generic things that are on offer. But again, nothing was giving me long lasting results, and nothing was really getting to the root or even diving into any of that. It was all surface level covering up, and it just wasn't helping me to feel any shed better, really. So when that relationship broke down, I was at this point of, what do I do? I'm at rock bottom. Like, there has to be more to life than this. And that's when the law of attraction found me. I kept seeing this word everywhere, and I thought, what's this? Like, what's the law of attraction?
Mhm.
So from that point, again, it was a bit like couponing, where I fell in love with it, and it was a really positive thing that I could put my energy towards and put my attention towards. And within 3 or 4 weeks of doing it, I felt so differently, like
Wow.
so polar opposite to how I'd felt for so long,
Wow.
because I was learning what self-care and self-love was. I was learning to heal, and I was learning to have a positive mindset, which I definitely didn't have prior to that. So I really feel like the law of attraction saved me in so many different ways.
Mhm.
And then come 2017, I thought, right, this is shifting. Like, my company I was running was huge at this point, so it needed a team of people, and I couldn't keep running it just by myself. And I felt like I wanted to again shift how I was helping people, and actually, yes, talk about money, but also talk about the law of attraction and how we can manifest money and have a positive relationship with money. So I sold my
Mhm.
couponing business in 2018, and I've been doing this full time ever since.
Yeah, which I love this because I think it's important for people to hear out there that you can be having success, because I think so many people think, well, if I just have success in money and have this, then my depression will go away. No, not going to happen. Right. So I want people to hear that and really get that you were having a very successful business and you were still dealing with, not feeling well, which so many of us do. We think if we just get that right relationship, if we just make enough money, if we just get that new home, or if we just move to that different city, then it'll all work out. And that's the lie. So let's dive deep into the law of attraction, because I think as a doctor of divinity that teaches, I have a book coming out as well, and oracle cards on universal law, which is the law of attraction, which is the law of attraction is a very small, it's just like one concept of what everything is. It's a very deep dive into it. And I think for me, like probably you as well, I listened to The Secret. I put the manifesting thing up on the wall. I manifested about half of the stuff, and it, all became, millions of dollars and things and all that stuff. And then half of it, I, couldn't manifest, but regardless, I was still unfulfilled. I was still, it wasn't enough. And I thought manifesting was getting things. And we
Mhm.
know that manifesting is that's what we call it, man, right? It's you're the manifestation. What to manifest is the highest, most expressed, connected, loving you. All these things are never going to fulfill us. And yes, we believe in prosperity, but what does it mean for you? What is your definition of the law of attraction?
Yeah. And I think I've got two parts to that answer, definitely, because I fully, like, wholeheartedly agree with everything you said, because
Mhm.
that's actually why I wrote my second book, Positively Wealthy, because I'd gone along my manifestation journey for about 3 years at that point, and I thought I'd manifested it all. I'd manifested everything off my vision board. So you'd think that would be like, great, Emma, congratulations, amazing, you're great at this, fantastic. But I felt, and I remember this really heavy moment. It was actually when I sold my couponing business. It was the final manifestation of my vision board. I'd got the relationship I dreamt of. I'd got the house that I dreamt of, for this stage in my life. Obviously, when kids come along, it's a bit different. And things like that, career success, book deals, everything. I got it all. And then when I sold my business, that was my final sort of manifestation I'd put on there. So I thought, that's it. Like, you've got everything now, Emma. And I remember that money hitting the bank account. And, it was a really nice amount of money that was going to set me up, help me buy a house, all these amazing things. And I sat there and I was like, you feel exactly the same as you did 10 minutes ago. You're the same Emma. And that gaping big void in your chest that is so loud and you feel so unfulfilled is still there. And that's what I realized. I've been manifesting all wrong. Like, this is not my version of wealth. Like, I thought that, like career, validation, success, book deals, money, I thought that was what wealth was, because that's what Western society taught me wealth
Yes.
was.
Yes.
But
Can
it
we just get
wasn't.
an amen? Can we please just like have a moment of like, do you guys are you beginning to get this? No status, no book deal, no standing in front of 10,000 people on stage, no amount of money in the bank account, no relationship, nothing is going to fulfill you. Thank you so much for your story. Keep going, because it's so good. So good, girl. Real good. Yeah. Love this.
So I just think it really opened my eyes to what wealth meant. and that actually wealth can mean so many different things. And actually my version of wealth was inner peace, having a family and a loving partner. And that was my version of wealth at that point. And that can change and grow and evolve over time. And not everybody's version of wealth is going to be the same. Definitely not. For some people, it may be career, it may be money, it may be something like that, but only we can answer that for ourselves. So that really opened my eyes to how I was manifesting wrong. But in terms of what I believe manifestation is, like you said, it's one of the 7 energetic laws of the universe. And I believe that the law of attraction, or the law of vibration as it's officially called, is very much like attracts like. So we are faced with a big, gigantic universal mirror. So how we show up to the universe, how we show up to that mirror is what is reflected back to us. So it's the notion that we can create our reality through our thoughts, our words, our actions, our energy. But I actually think that energy trumps all, because a lot of people, when they manifest, I get DMs all the time about this, Erin, they say, I've had a negative thought today, Emma. I'm so worried it's going to manifest. How do I stop thinking this thought? And it's just not that simple. And I love your work because, like me, you're very much like, it's one law, guys. There's more.
So this is one of the questions I had years ago that I dance with and go, I had to really make peace of understanding this fully. So I'm curious to know your thoughts on this, because one of my dear friends I grew up with was like, well, if we attract, or we are creating, how does a baby that's born to a crack addict mother, how are they manifesting that? And I think it's a really important thing, because people have to understand, first of all, we're one. So that crack baby is not just like individually creating. That is the sum total of what's been created on this planet. And part of the good and bad is, having a crack mother that has a baby. And does that baby have a single thought to create that? No, the one thought is created with the one mind, and that is an outpicturing of everything. So the law of attraction is such a deep, profound thing. It's not like I'm going to think one thing and then that's going to manifest that. Yes, it's looking to the beliefs, looking to the veil, and looking through whatever that filter is. And you're going to say, if I'm not enough, you're always going to find the evidence of I'm not enough. But I think it's such an important thing, because I think so many people are into this Western world of law of attraction. I'm going to get the jet. I'm going to get the fancy this. I'm going to have the boyfriend. I'm going to da. That is not. It's that's why people don't like the industry. That's why they look down upon it, is because it's not shallow like that. And the people that are in that way of manifesting are going to get a rude awakening when they come to the dead end of, holy cow, I'm still not fulfilled. I have millions of dollars or whatever. And it's really an important, very important conversation for us as leaders to have for people. So it's
100%.
amazing. Yeah, so good. I love it. So go on. So I'm like on the side of my seat right now. I love your story so much. Okay.
So and I think just to extend on what you said a little bit there as well, I think there are a lot of old school teachings of law of attraction that feel very outdated and feel just not really great, if I'm honest, because a lot of, I've had people say to me, Emma, this terrible situation happened to me, and, old school teachings and telling me that I manifested that, but that just doesn't feel right. And of course we have to take accountability for our lives, like my relationships I was in, for example, I chose to be in those toxic relationships. Yes. I was an active participant in that. There was a part of me that absolutely reflected toxicity as well at that point, 1,000,000%. But at the same time, what happened to me as a child? No, I did not manifest that. Absolutely not. And, I've had people come in my DMs before who are huge law of assumption advocates. And again, like, I'm not educated in the law of assumption. It's not something I particularly teach upon or know tons about. So I don't tend to dive into that. But they'll, come into my DMs and say, Emma, you're wrong, because, we manifest everything. And I said, if you can honestly, wholeheartedly sit there and tell me that a child is manifesting being abused, I think we're on the different pages there. Like, I cannot subscribe to that. And I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that is true. What I do believe manifests is our consistent vibration. So as I gave that example, from experiencing trauma myself in my childhood and growing up, that consistent vibration was there manifesting those not so great relationships. And there was my level of self-worth that was definitely not there, that was then attracting those relationships which didn't respect me, that, that self-worth wasn't there. But when I, went through the inner work and realized that and took the action, I'm not manifesting that now. So I think manifestation is a really deep conversation, because I think on the surface level, everyone wants to think, oh, it's just ask, believe, receive. but it's just not that simple. It's not
Yeah.
as black and
So,
white
so we
sometimes.
would teach this, that it would be karma of what happened, meaning that it's a sum total of everything that's been created. We believe you are your parents, you are your grandparents. So it's all the creation that's been created, including that abuse. So karma is, yes, and you'd say that's manifest through the karma. But manifestation from a standpoint of law of attraction is, yes, you could change your vibration and heal yourself and break the lineage and not take abuse anymore. But we've created everything in the universe. The same source that created you created the good things and created the bad things. There's no difference. It's one source, one cause. But manifestation, people consider that you're either manifesting or not. We're manifesting 24/7, no matter what we do, which is really fascinating. You know what I mean? So we believe you manifest everything. We're manifesting the war in UK. We are one with everything. So I think it depends on the level of where you want to take responsibility and manifestation and the responsibility that comes with that. But I think it's good to have differences and play with it and kind of debate it and whatever it is. And for each individual, they can come up with their own truth and they can go even further down the rabbit hole if they choose, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, things unfold so differently for every single person. Every single person's got a different personal history, different things that they've experienced. And I think, again, with manifestation, there's this, I guess, again, these old school notions of everybody starting off at the same place, but technically they're not, because like my trauma is going to be different to your traumas, Erin, and your self-worth may be different to my self-worth. So I think it's, again, acknowledging that it's not a race, it's not a competition, it's your personal journey with manifestation.
And we're one, and you and I are one.
Yeah, exactly. And you have the power to create that healing, to embrace that peace. And, you know, before I went along my inner work journey, like I knew nothing about ancestral trauma. I knew nothing about family constellations. I knew nothing about that. And it's so interesting as I went along that journey of motherline healing, fatherline healing, looking at family constellation sessions, like just how much had been passed down my motherline. I mean, it was wild, and it made absolute sense at the same time.
I love that. But I think there's a really important distinction here for me, is that no matter where you are in your leadership, that you can always help people no matter where you're at, you know? And for some people, they're not ready to go as far. It's okay to just say, I take responsibility for what I'm perceiving and what my beliefs are and what my vibration is and how it's going. And then you can expand even out to knowing the oneness. And it's beautiful. All of it's beautiful. I think just the inquiry of it is so beautiful. And I think it's so cool because I found no matter if somebody's I have friends that are just in the health kind of coaching, and they find, well, I can only help my clients so much. At some point in time, I have to start doing the deeper spiritual work. Like it's like almost like the road always leads to one place, which is that deep, deep soul work and limited beliefs. And of course, which is the vibration, knowing that the identity creates the beliefs, which creates the thoughts, the feelings, emotions, and the circumstances of our life. But the belief, when I know I'm one, when I know I am the I am, I know I'm one with Emma, I know I'm one with everything. And my ability to manifest creates everything in this universe. And I also have to take responsibility. So I can't blame my ex. I can't blame just the Iranian, you know, whatever's going on. I can't blame anyone. It's impossible, because I know this one source is creating everything. And if somebody bothers me, then I have to take responsibility. So it's so amazing. It's such an incredible, I'm so grateful for the law of attraction, for all the aspects of it. So then tell me about it. So you have this 5-step of the law of attraction. Tell me about that.
Yeah. So as I went along my manifestation journey, when I wrote my first book back in 2018, I realized that a lot of people get stuck, and a lot of people, you know, comment and message and DM, and, you know, we see it online all the time. People saying it doesn't work for me. It works for some people, but not for me. Emma, I don't understand why it's not working. So I thought, right, let's look at every single manifestation that I've manifested so far. What's worked? What was the formula? What really helped? What didn't? What do I feel was useful? And I really felt in my soul that there was actually 5 steps to law of attraction. And obviously I know loads of people have different variations of 7 steps, 9 steps, all of these. So again, it's what resonates with with you and what feels, the most helpful and beneficial to you. But for me, it just really helped me to simplify and break down that process more, to understand what actually goes into that belief step. What actually does it take to understand the law of attraction and identify which step that you're at? So the first step in my process is ask, which is the same as one of the traditional steps. And it's asking and setting your intentions. So asking the universe with clarity, because remember, how you're showing up is what's reflected back. So if you want to manifest money, don't just say, I want some money. How much do you want? Be clear, be specific. What are you going to spend that money on? Why do you want that money? Ask yourself those questions and ask that with all your desires. So once you've set your intention, then we move on to the second step, which is believe. Again, one of the traditional steps. And in this step, I really believe this is where we do the inner work. This is where those beliefs come up, where the inner critic and ego is like, hello, you're not worthy of this. We know that internal dialogue that happens. So in that belief step, yes, it's believing you're worthy and deserving of the universe bringing your desire to you, and that it can happen and you can manifest. But also it's looking at your limiting beliefs, fears, blockages, anything that is standing in between you and your desire. So it's very much an energetic step where you look at what is standing in between me and my desire. And I felt like the original description of believe just wasn't deep enough. It didn't explain, right, how do I believe? How do I get there? Why may I not believe? So definitely I feel the inner work goes into step number 2. Then step number 3 is a new step, trust. And I added this step in because yes, it's trusting the process. Yes, it's trusting in divine timing. But in that trust step, it's almost like that leap of faith of like you're meeting the universe halfway. So it's a co-creation process manifestation. So you go 50%, the universe meets you 50%. It's not 90-10, it's not 10-90, it's 50-50. So that trust step is almost you meeting the universe halfway, taking that leap of faith and putting yourself out there in the field of possibility and opportunity. So if you're wanting to manifest a career, for example, you're going to put yourself out there. You're going to put your CV or resume online. You're going to put yourself out there on LinkedIn, get that outfit ready for the interviews and meetings you're going to go to. So it's really you saying, I'm here, I'm ready to be seen, universe, and I'm ready to take those steps. Come and meet me halfway. And then the fourth step is Fourth step is letting go and surrendering. So in this step, I feel is arguably probably one of the most important steps, and something which I had never done a day in my life before learning the lessons of letting go and surrendering. And something I think people struggle with, one of the hardest, because again, it's like we're taught to ask and then believe and do all the inner work. Then we're trusting, we're taking action. And now we just have to let it all go like we didn't even care about it in the first place. And I think people can get confused with that and think that it's giving up or that you're not bothered. And it's not like that at all. It's very much a case of getting present, expressing gratitude, letting go of your attachment. Again, it's that inner work of letting go and becoming at peace and allowing the universe to meet you halfway, because you can have your 90% manifestors, which I definitely used to be, where we're like, we're going to make it happen. We're going to do everything. We're going to go 90% of the way. And as we know, that just does not work in any way, shape or form. So in that letting go and surrendering stage, it's allowing. It is allowing and allowing yourself to be met by the universe. And then the fifth step is receive, the same as one of the traditional steps. But again, receiving is an energy. And I think this isn't spoken about enough, of how much do you allow yourself to get into the energetics of receiving, especially as if any women are listening to this, but anybody listening, like how often do you allow yourself to receive love, to receive support, to receive gifts, to receive money? And I think definitely one of my blocks was receiving, because of, the wounds that I had experienced in my life, especially from the masculine. So then receiving in any way, shape or form felt really awkward and a bit all to me. So I knew that that's why I was really struggling to receive abundance, because I wasn't getting into that level or that energy of allowing myself to receive from, everyone in my life, or from work or from followers or whatever. So definitely getting into the energetic of receiving is a good practice for self-care, but also good practice for manifesting too.
I love that. I love all that. And I think the Vedas and so many things have taught us this work for eons, and I think it's interesting that the West, we come up with, these are things that have been taught forever. There's nothing new that you or I or anyone are teaching. That this is all wisdom that is in each and every person for sure. But I think it's interesting, I go through, cycles myself as a leader in the manifestation. I tend to sometimes get more external, like, let me get things. Let me experience this experience, or let me, whatever. And I realize that every time I do that, it just is a road to misery. Like, the message coming through spirit right now for me is you're either living in the inner world or you're living in the external world. And the moment that I look to the world for anything, I become totally unfulfilled. The only time I'm really fulfilled is when I ask, how can I serve? And how can I only place my power in God's source within, and in that source, and in that, the manifestation world is beautiful, but I would say it's such a trap that without the awakening, without anything, I think that the clients that say, hey, it doesn't work for me, it's because you don't even know what you truly desire. You're just going off whatever the world and the culture's told you, and it's not authentic what you truly desire that. So therefore you're not gonna, your soul's having you break down because it doesn't give you what you want, it gives you what you need. So you can manifest all day everything you think you want, but if what you really need is healing and doing trauma work, it's going to bring you more things to have trauma to break you down, to have you surrender, to have to actually do the work. You may say, I want millions of dollars, but what you actually want is to break through prosperity consciousness. And it's going to take you going through a bankruptcy to surrender, to actually do the deep work, to be able to heal and have enough self-love to be able to be okay with or without money to actually be able to have it. So how we manifest is very different than just sitting and going, I want this, I'm going to visualize it, whatever. It takes such deep, deep work, and it can never be the goal of getting anything external, because if that's your goal, then the universe is going to show you how you cannot ever be fulfilled with things outside. So it's such a deep, deep conversation. And people want to stay, oh, I'm going to manifest this and demonstrate it. You're the manifestation. We're the manifestation, not the things. This is not a manifestation. That's a demonstration, the demonstration of our life. And it's so important. So what do you feel like you manifested that is really fulfilling for you?
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up, because I went on my friend's podcast a few weeks ago, and he said that when you manifest from a healed space, an aligned space, what you want changes entirely, and what you wanted at the beginning isn't what you want now. And I was like, oh my God, yes, 100%, because what I wanted 6 years ago is definitely what I don't want. I don't want that now. And it took through going through a really karmic, again, relationship during my law of attraction journey to understand, right, Emma, you don't probably know what's best for you. Let the universe bring to you what is for your highest good, and let's do the inner work. Look, something's going on here to keep attracting those relationships. It's time to, look within. And I think as well, it's difficult because I didn't know how to do that work. I didn't know that what shadow work was, or inner work. Like I knew nothing of this before my journey. Like I knew about therapy and counseling, but I didn't know what had happened in my life to be able to even have those conversations or awareness with myself. So I feel like the inner work comes up gradually. And that's my experience anyway, but it's not like a full-blown boom. Sometimes spiritual awakenings can be that. But I feel like I had my spiritual awakening of, right, come on, change your mindset, change around. And then I had the dark nights of the soul after that, where it was like, right, this isn't just about getting things, Emma. This isn't just about what can I get? How does this benefit me? Great. It's how is your manifestations impacting the collective? How is it impacting, the whole planet, the whole collective? How is you manifesting 10,000, 100,000, million pounds, whatever? How is that affecting the collective as well? What can you do positively with that? So I feel like if we'd had that conversation 3 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, Erin, like I've manifested everything from an aligned space. And you'd have probably thought, yeah, it looks like it, Emma. Your energy says so. But at that point, I generally did believe that. But then as I went along that relationship, and again, felt so unfulfilled, and again, the wounds came up and the patterns repeated. Now here 3 years later, having written the book, having lived that journey page for page, practice for practice, to be able to write that book, definitely I see things from a whole new perspective of, wow, I actually know myself. I didn't know myself before at all. It felt like
amazing. Yeah.
So like, I know who I am now. And that's the biggest result of all of it,
That's
right?
the greatest thing to manifest, right? Right. Self-love and knowing thyself, know thyself and know the whole entire universe, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I felt like even from that huge healing of just like, wow, I've returned home to myself. There's peace within me. I feel peace.
I love
Then
that.
everything else was easy.
Yeah.
And manifesting a happy relationship felt like as easy as breathing. Manifesting my lovely dog into my life, who brings so much unconditional love, felt easy.
Yeah.
Manifesting in my business now, easy. And that doesn't mean challenges don't arise. We're human, life ebbs and flows. But for me, it's felt so much easier because I'm like, this is what it is meant to feel like. This
Mhm.
is what happiness is meant to feel like. And this is, my nervous system is meant to be calm, and I can live anxiety and depression free. So I think for me, to summarize that, is the happiness and peace is the
Yeah.
biggest, most
Yeah.
aligned manifestation.
So fascinating. I think this is such an important conversation. And I just saw this great interview. Um, um, and they were talking about successful people. And the world has told us successful people, have millions of dollars or have status or whatever. And they were saying that, their commonality of successful people, it's not that they wake up early or they do X, Y, and Z habits. The commonality of quote, quote, successful people is that they actually think they're deserving. They think they're actually better than others. Okay. They believe that they have, basically a total tenacity to believe that they, can get millions of dollars, right? And I think it's such a fascinating thing, because what happened for me is I did the same thing. I manifested millions of dollars, jets, a really incredible lifestyle, and I was completely unfulfilled inside. And so over the course of the years of working with celebrities and CEOs, one of the things I found is that the trauma happens the same way. You can have a trauma that makes you limited. It can make you believe you're not worthy of having success and sabotage your success. A trauma also can make you believe that I'm going to win. I'll show you, right? So we have this kind of one extreme of people that can't manifest at all. They're like, something's wrong with me. And the other people can manifest all this stuff, but it's out of a complete, like, divided, kind of sick, mentally sick lifestyle, right? So actually some of the healthiest people I know have very simple lives. They make a decent income. They have good relationships. They have peace in their life, but they're not trying to, have everything, right? So it's such an interesting thing. And I think as leaders, we go through this, like, what really matters, and it's like, I realized some of my success was definitely built out of trauma. There's no question. And then you're
Yeah.
like, why am I doing this? Why do I really want to do this? And you redefine it and then you keep having success because it's part of your nature and part of your creative factor. But I just want to say thank you for all your work. And it's really, I think your story is really, really important for people to hear. I really do. I think it's, especially, you're a young woman, you have a lot of women that follow you, they're going to look at you. They're going to say, is she going to tell me, look, become the next 7-figure coach? Or is she going to say, hey, find your, find what your specific relative truth is? Because ultimate truth is we're all one, we're immortal, we're all powerful. But a relative truth is really important to birth, because what works for you and what brings you peace is very different than me. And it's so important. And I just want to say thank you I know you've worked hard, man. Everything you've done, there's no joke. Okay. I'm sure you've been through a lot. And so what is it that you want the audience? What is the one thing? What's the one thing you want them to know right now?
I actually want to touch upon what you said about the seven
Okay,
figure
cool.
thing. Just
Uh-huh.
because I love that you said that, because I think it's so refreshing. And, definitely, like, throughout my journey, I had those goals of 6-figure coach, like all these things. And I think it's so natural in the industry when that's the buzzwords, like we're on like 9-figure coach now, I think it is, or
Yes.
something. And you
Mhm.
just think, I'm just exhausted reading all of that.
Awesome reading it. Mhm.
But like, I got asked that recently on an Instagram Q&A, and this lady was like, I really want to manifest a 6-figure business. Like, how do I do it, Emma? Like, what do I do? And I said, my best advice, this may not be everybody's advice, but my advice to you is, don't manifest a 6-figure business. Manifest a business that lights your soul up. Manifest a business that serves and helps people and feels so joyful to you every day that it doesn't even feel like work. And that, you're manifesting aligned clients who are happy, and, they're getting amazing results. And I realized that along my journey, that again, when I was redefining my version of wealth, I was chasing money, chasing sales, chasing 6 figures, when I scrapped all of that and had no figure goal, but instead was like, okay, I want to help these people do this, or this is how I want to show up, or actually I've just birthed the most aligned, amazing course that feels so good The money was an absolute byproduct. I didn't
Wow.
even need to think about it. And of course, like, it's healthy to, set
Yep.
goals and have those things. I'm not saying don't set a goal, but it's really looking at your motive behind the goal. So
Yes.
instead of being like, how can I get something? How is that work actually gonna, you could have a 6-figure business and be miserable, be burnt out. And that was definitely me a few years ago. So again, you could have, as we've said, you could have all that success and be so unfulfilled and think, oh, is this what 6 figures feels like? Like, that doesn't feel good. Or you could create something which feels so good to you, so good to your nervous system, great to your clients. You're, creating and doing amazing things.
Yes.
And this goes even if you don't have a business.
I say
And the
yes.
money and everything is a byproduct, because that's just the result of the amazing things that you've done. So you don't even need to worry about that when you have the awesomeness in the business.
Yes. As Gary Vee says, 8 million people, we need to redefine what success is.
Mhm.
And I think as leaders, we especially, people look to us to go, what is success? And I want to say, I'm so grateful for you coming to this. I'm so grateful for me coming to this. I'm so grateful that the more we can have the conversation for people to just please be true to your heart. You can have so much less and be so much more happier. Money's not the be all end all, and money's going to come anyway if you do what
Yeah.
you want. Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so great. So tell everybody where they can find your new book, where they can find you.
Course. So my new book, Hurt, Healing, Healed, which is Release Limiting Beliefs, Fears, and Blocks to Supercharge Your Manifestation, is out now worldwide in ebook, audiobook, and paperback from anywhere that sells books. So wherever you get your books, you'll be able to find them, like Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Waterstones, all places like that. And you can find me on my website, emmamumford.co.uk, and on Instagram, Facebook, and pretty much everywhere at I am Emma Mumford.
So good. Thank you so much for your heart. So good. Okay.
Thanks.
Have a beautiful, blessed day, you guys, and may you live your truth. Thank you for tuning into the Dr. Erin podcast. If you're ready to reprogram your subconscious mind, transform your trauma, and birth your soul's calling, or if you're ready to become an accredited certified spiritual psychology coach and E4 trauma method facilitator and get trained in spiritual psychology, universal law, intergenerational trauma work, past life regression work, metaphysics of mind, and so much more, go to Soulciété.com or drerin.tv. If you're receiving value from the show, I would love it if you share it with a friend and give it a 5-star review. Also, you can join me in one of my live free trainings. You can find it right on the website as well, or in my bio link across all social media. I'm drerin.tv across all platforms. DRERIN.tv. Have a beautiful day, and may you live your truth.